Hey everyone, this is Michael again, and welcome to my Smackdown review for the Smackdown for December 18th, 2018. And I said I was going to do this review, and I didn't check this out on Tuesday because I was working late, so I DVR'd Smackdown. Finished watching it, a few minutes ago. And this Smackdown was from the Save Mart Center in Fresno, California. And I gotta say, this was a decent Smackdown. I'd say it was much better than Raw. But all in all, Smackdown this week, it was a decent show. And let's get on with the review. So the show opened up with Shane McMahon addressing the Smackdown locker room about what happened on Raw, where the McMahon family came out, Vince, Stephanie, Triple H, and Shane, saying, "Oh, we're ushering a change for WWE." Yeah, where's the change? The change is not there's not going to be no change because we're getting the same shit. Tomorrow night on Raw, even though it's a taped show, it's going to be Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin once again. Didn't we just see almost 2 weeks ago on the go-home show for TLC, where we saw a TLC match with Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin for the Intercontinental title in that match? So we're getting Seth versus Corbin again. So where's this change? Where's this change that they said was going to happen? No change yet. So Shane was addressing the SmackDown locker room about what happened on Raw. The SmackDown locker room actually booed at that. Booed at Raw. even the SmackDown locker room knows how much Raw sucks. So Shane goes on to say the McMahon family ushered in a new era of progression, a change, and a fresh start for WWE, and a fresh start for SmackDown Live. He says we will be seeing new faces, new matchups, and new opportunities, and they are listening. Yeah, if they are listening, then why are we getting Seth Rollins versus Baron Corbin once again? Tell me that. And so Shane says they need to create a best possible product there is for the fans. Yeah, like that's ever going to happen. Best possible product there is. Yeah, where's this change? Like I said, where is this change? Still. And he then tells the SmackDown locker room that he would like to thank Paige for her contributions. Which now Paige is now the former SmackDown general manager. So, and Shane goes on to say that she's not going anywhere. And so the SmackDown locker room, was going, "Thank you, Paige. Thank you, Paige." And it sucks. It sucks that Paige is no longer the general manager of SmackDown Live. I have to say, she did a really good job as the SmackDown Live general manager. So, but that opened up SmackDown with Shane addressing the SmackDown locker room. Then Becky Lynch, the man, came out, and she says she doesn't care who's running the show, because the man is in charge. And she goes on to say while the others are in the back listening to some corporate nonsense speech, and when she said that, I applauded her for that. And she says, she's out with the people because it's where the real business is conducted. And Becky goes on to say the only thing she wants from the McMahon family is for them to deliver her Ronda Rousey. So she ends up calling out Ronda, saying that, she tells Ronda that when she stepped into her business, into Becky's business, she faced her down and she made her tap. Becky ended up stepping into her business and she faced her down. Becky made her tap out in her own dressing room, and Becky left Ronda lying in her own ring. And she goes on to say that at TLC, Ronda cost her the title. And she goes on to say Ronda didn't have the decency to fight her. So out came Charlotte, and she says to Becky to take a number and stand behind the Queen. And that Ronda stole her opportunity at TLC. And so Becky goes to Charlotte and says that her days of standing behind Charlotte are long gone. And so Charlotte says to Becky that the days of her looking up to Charlotte are, that Becky looked up to Charlotte are then, now, and forever. And Charlotte lays out a woo. And she says if Ronda wasn't there, she would have been an 8-time women's champion. And so Asuka comes out, crowd, pops for her, and Asuka says to both Charlotte and Becky to forget Ronda, because she is the champion now, which the crowd popped for Asuka for that. And Becky tells Asuka to prove it. And Charlotte says that Asuka should be thanking Ronda. And both Becky and Charlotte, they both tell Asuka, that Asuka never beat the both of them. And we hear Becky call Asuka a paper champion. And Charlotte and Becky are going back and forth, which led to Vince McMahon coming out. So Vince McMahon comes out. He wishes the crowd happy holidays. He congratulates Asuka on the win at TLC. And he says to Becky, why are you angry? And that, Becky is making excuses. And he says, Charlotte is also making those same excuses. And Vince ends up telling both of them to get over it. And if they got a problem, to take it out on Ronda. And he goes on to say to Asuka, how about, you defend the championship, the SmackDown Women's Championship tonight. And Vince then reveals who Asuka's opponent will be. And it's revealed to be Naomi. And so Naomi will be taking on Asuka for the SmackDown Women's Championship. And Naomi gets on the mic and says that Charlotte had her opportunities, which is true. Charlotte has been given all these opportunities, when she hasn't earned them. She's just thrown in. WWE likes to throw in Charlotte and give her opportunities, when she hasn't done nothing to earn that opportunity. And so Naomi ends up going on to say, to Becky that, she was the man, that Becky was the man, but she doesn't have the title anymore. And, that, kind of pissed off Becky. And Becky looked like she was about to say something, which I would have really loved to hear what Becky would have said to that. But, but Naomi ends up saying that she wants the title. And Vince says the match is happening now. And so the match gets underway. Sorry about that, but I was saying we had the match. It was Asuka versus Naomi. And the match itself, it was decent. It was entertaining. Back and forth between Asuka and Naomi. We had Becky Lynch and Charlotte sitting at ring, sitting at ringside watching the match. They were by the commentary table. But Asuka ended up winning the match, ended up retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship, ended up applying the Asuka lock on Naomi. There are points where Asuka was trying to lock in the Asuka lock on Naomi, but Naomi ended up, keeping reversing the move. But Asuka then ended up applying the Asuka lock on Naomi. Naomi ended up tapping out, retaining the SmackDown Women's Championship. But all in all, decent match between Asuka and Naomi. Then we had The Miz. He went to the McMahon family locker room. He was, outside. He ended up knocking on the door. Vince ends up walking out, and Miz tells Vince if Shane is around. Vince tells Miz, that Shane can't come out to play. And so Miz ends up saying him and Shane are having trust issues, and that Vince knows he is the most loyal. Vince knows that Miz is the most loyal superstar on the roster. And he says if Shane and him teamed up, they could be the best tag team in the world. And so he ends up telling Vince that he is a worthy partner for Shane. And Miz asks Vince for his blessing. And so Vince goes on to tell Miz that he doesn't do blessings, and that Miz can prove himself tonight. Vince can prove himself, to get Vince's blessing. And Vince is going to come up with a team and see how good Miz really is. So that was that. But there were reports that Shane was supposed to turn heel, but due to like a Crown Jewel, like that whole Shane winning the World Cup, the Best in the World tournament, that whole World Cup tournament, that after he won that, he was going to turn heel, but unfortunately the plans were scrapped because of the whole supposed change for WWE and for Raw and SmackDown, with the McMahon family. So apparently the Shane McMahon heel turn is not happening, which is good. So Shane is going to stay a babyface. So that was that with The Miz and Vince McMahon. Then we had Kayla Braxton. She ended up interviewing Rusev. He was with Lana, of course. And Kayla Braxton asked Rusev about, pinning Nakamura last week in a tag team match. And if, that move, was moving him one step closer to the United States Championship. Sorry about that, but I was saying, Kayla Braxton was interviewing Rusev on how he pinned Nakamura last week in a tag team match. And, with that win, if Rusev is moving one step closer to the United States Championship. And Rusev says he is the definition of a WWE superstar. He's a man of action, and he proved it when he said Nakamura should be afraid of him. And he ends up holding up a picture, like Lana ends up holding up a picture and shows, Nakamura with, his attire, which I say he looks like a figure skater in that whole blue attire. And Rusev ends up saying that Nakamura, with the blue attire that he's wearing, Rusev says he looks like Sonic the Hedgehog. And he says when he gets his hands on Nakamura, he will get his United States Championship title, his United States Championship on Rusev Day. So, decent interview with Rusev. Then we had Jeff Hardy come out this was going to be a Samoa Joe, Samoa Joe apologizing to Jeff Hardy. So Jeff Hardy comes out and says that he heard Samoa Joe wants to apologize to him, and that Joe has been trying to get under his skin for 2 weeks, and all the stuff Joe said about Jeff and his demons were true, and he's been weak. Jeff Hardy has said. And Jeff Hardy says, that was then, this is now. And Jeff Hardy says every day he wakes up and worships the fact that he is alive, well, and here. And he ends up telling Samoa Joe to bring it. And he wants to hear, he wants to hear the apology from Joe face to face. And so Samoa Joe ends up coming out, says to Jeff Hardy that he is sorry, and he says this is not going to be an apology, it's going to be a intervention. And Samoa Joe says he knows Jeff for a long time, and he says his demons are going to come back. And Jeff says the more Joe talks about his past, the more he reminds him that he is never going back, and his demons see right through Joe. Jeff Hardy goes on to say that Joe attacks people's weaknesses and to cover up his own insecurities. And so he takes a jab at Joe and says that Joe has been here for 2 years and he hasn't won a championship in his time on the main roster. And so Joe tries to go after Jeff Hardy. Jeff Hardy ends up kicking him, hits a twist of fate on Samoa Joe, and that's how the other segment ended. But it's an okay segment. Of course, we're going to possibly get Jeff Hardy versus Samoa Joe this Tuesday on SmackDown. I thought that this would be a feud built towards the Royal Rumble, but apparently they're going to do the match this Tuesday on SmackDown on the Christmas Day edition, which there won't be a SmackDown review on Tuesday because because of it being Christmas. I'm going to be with my family, so. But yeah, it was an okay segment from Jeff Hardy and Samoa Joe. Then we had The Miz come out for his match. The match is revealed to be a mixed tag team match. And so The Miz's partner was Mandy Rose. And they took on R-Truth and Carmella. And this was a short match. This was not that great of a match. The Miz and Mandy Rose win the match. We had Mandy Rose end up kicking Carmella. The Miz ended up coming in, ended up hitting the Skull Crusher finale on R-Truth to score the win for him and Mandy Rose. So Miz and Mandy Rose win the match. Very short match. Wasn't that great of a match. And then we had the Usos come out, and they end up saying, no matter how things change here, there is one thing that remains, and that they run SmackDown Live. And the reason why they didn't win at TLC is because they weren't the team that got pinned. And so they end up calling out the bar, only to be interrupted by Gallows and Anderson, by Luke Gallows and Karl Anderson. And Karl Anderson says, week in and week out, it's been the New Day versus the Bar versus the Usos. And he says the Good Brothers haven't been on SmackDown since August because they were being sidelined. They were in catering, and it's been a while since we've seen Gallows and Anderson. Since August. And so Gallows says, that's 4 months that they have been on the sidelines. And he says that won't be no more. And it's time to clean the slate and clean house. And so the Usos end up welcoming Gallows and Anderson to the Uso Penitentiary. And so then we had the match. We had the Usos versus Gallows and Anderson. It was an entertaining match. At the beginning and towards the middle. And we had, it was back and forth between the Usos and them. The Usos have been very entertaining in their matches. Really love, when they go up against the New Day. They had awesome matches with them. They had awesome matches with Cesaro and Sheamus at the bar. But it was really cool seeing Gallows and Anderson in a match again after WWE has not been using them since 4 months. Sorry about that again, but it was really cool. Like I said, it was really cool seeing Gallows and Anderson in a match since 4 months, because WWE had nothing good for them, had no competition for them, so they were just in catering on the sidelines. But the match ended in a no contest because we had Cesaro and Sheamus come out, and then what caused the no contest was Sanity ended up coming out. They came out and they ended up beating down on the Usos, Gallows and Anderson. So this is the first time we haven't seen, since we haven't seen Sandy since when Nikki Cross ended up doing that little match that she had when they were in the UK, and that was basically just a one-off for Nikki Cross. And now they're bringing her up to the main roster in that video package that they did, where they're bringing up Lars Sullivan, Lacey Evans, EC3. So, and also Heavy Machinery, Ostoshevich and Tucker Knight. So, but then we had the bar. Cesaro and Sheamus come in. They ended up beating down on the Usos and Gallows and Anderson. So that was that. But all in all, the match itself between the Usos, Gallows and Anderson, it was an entertaining match, but up towards the end, where we had Sandy come in. Then after that, we had Shinsuke Nakamura ends up cutting a promo asking if he should be afraid of Rusev. And he shows moments of Rusev from his time on Total Divas, where he liked to show his legs off. If you watch Total Divas, you might know what I'm saying. And so Nakamura says Rusev is no championship contender, nor star. He's a total diva. So that was a little promo that Nakamura cut. Of course, he was still wearing the blue attire, which looked like as I said, he looks like a figure skater. Then we had the main event, which was AJ Styles and Mustafa Ali versus Daniel Bryan and Andrade Cien Almas. Yes, finally, Andrade is in a match. When was the last time he had a match? Since after SummerSlam? Or during SummerSlam? I can't remember. But that was the last time we saw this is the first time we saw Andrade compete since then. Since the summertime. But it was really cool seeing Andrade again in those 4 months. But before the match got underway, Daniel Bryan came out and he gets on the mic. What was really funny was this fan that was sitting floor. He had he was sitting floor, near the ramp, and this fan had a sign that said, this sign wasted paper. And Daniel Bryan was, staring at, the sign and staring at the guy who had it. It was funny. And so Daniel Bryan got on the mic. He said, he killed the Yes Movement. And on Sunday, he destroyed the house that AJ Styles built. And he says, but unlike us, he's not about destruction, but rather creation of something better. He says, here on SmackDown, he's creating a brave new world. And he understands we won't like it because we fear change. And, he goes on to say about, how we are destroying the planet that, that give us life because he has all the evidence. He ends up calling the people of California, he says the people of California are the guiltiest of them all. And he says Fresno ranks #1 in pollution in the state. And he then calls the crowd, he then says shame to the crowd. And, then he goes on to say that, we're one, he warns the people not to try self-education because, they will fail. So that's what Daniel Bryan ended up cutting. But like I said, really liking this new Daniel Bryan. He makes a good heel. So I'm really liking where WWE is taking Daniel Bryan. And so then we had the match. AJ Styles and Mustafa Ali versus Daniel Bryan and Andrade Cien Almas. This was a good main event. Really enjoyed this main event. Mustafa Ali was very entertaining. I think, in my opinion, Styles and Mustafa make a good tag team. And Daniel Bryan and Andrade, they were pretty good. Like I said, I enjoyed seeing Andrade again after WWE has not used him since possibly after SummerSlam or during SummerSlam. I can't remember though. But we had Mustafa Ali at the end of the match. He ended up botching the 054 on Daniel Bryan. But at the end of the match, Styles ended up hitting the phenomenal forearm to Andrade. And then Mustafa Ali went to the top, hit the 054, and he botched it. And his knee ended up hitting Daniel Bryan in the chest. And there are reports now that after that botch, Daniel Bryan is injured after that. So Mustafa hit the 054, ended up hitting Daniel Bryan, and so him and AJ Styles win the match. And that's how SmackDown ended for this week. So, but all in all, it was a good main event, and you all will notice that botch from Mustafa Ali if you play back the clip. So yes, anyways, that's it for my review of this week's SmackDown from December 18th. Thank you all for watching. Hope you all enjoyed this review. And definitely give this video a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, and stay tuned tomorrow night for my Monday Night Raw review, the Christmas Eve edition of Monday Night Raw, which is a tape show. They taped that show after last week's Raw. So But yeah, so stay tuned for that review. SmackDown review will hopefully be up on Wednesday. And after that, who knows what video I will do. So yeah, so till the next video, the Monday Night Raw review. I'll see you all back here tomorrow night with that review.